It was during this time that George Pullman built his empire.
Take the roughest man and bring him into a room elegantly carpeted and furnished, and the effect upon his bearing is immediate.
Site of one of the most important battles in the U.S. labor movement.
Pullman is a living social organism as well as a physical historic resource. It is people and ideas and values as well as buildings and spaces and public facilities.
The Pullman car factory headquarters was gutted by fire.
That's the story of who we are. That's the story of our past. And I have no doubt that we will pass the torch from generation to generation so that it is the story of our future as well.
In the years after the railroads connected America, the journey was possible, but it wasn't comfortable. Travelers sat upright for hours, days, nights. The country was expanding, but the experience of getting there had not caught up yet. Then came an idea. What if travel could be more than a movement? What if it could be rest? George Pullman introduced something new to the rails, cars that transformed. By day, passengers sat in comfortable seats. By night, those same seats became sleeping berths. Upper berths folded down from hidden panels above. Linen and bedding were stored neatly out of sight. Every inch of space was designed to serve more than one purpose. At the ends of the car, private rooms could be arranged for travelers or set aside as smoking areas. Innovation, not just in engineering, but in experience. But Pullman did not stop at function. These cars were designed to feel different. Rich wood interiors, soft lighting, attentive service, marble-top washstands, basins and water closets. Fresh air drawn through raised roof ventilating windows. Even the heating system was placed below the car, keeping the interior open, elegant, and uncluttered. For many, this was the first time travel felt refined. The railroad connected cities. Pullman connected people to a new standard of living. As the nation grew, Pullman traveled with it, across plains, through cities, between coasts. Generations experienced America from inside these cars. They slept, they dined, they watched the country unfold outside their window. Pullman did not just serve the expansion of the United States, it helped define how that expansion was experienced. Pullman reminds us, innovation is not only about invention, it is about improving everyday life. In the 19th century, Pullman reimagined travel. It brought comfort to distance and dignity to the journey. Today, that legacy remains, not just in what was built, but in how it changed the way a nation moved. Pullman National Historical Park reminds us that some of the nation's boldest ideas were not only forged in government halls or battlefields, but in the design of entire communities. When construction of Pullman began in 1880 on the marshy prairies south of Chicago, there was nothing like it in the United States. Pullman was envisioned not simply as a factory complex, but as a fully planned industrial town, where architecture, transportation, parks, industry, and civic life were woven together into one unified vision. Within only a few years, an entire community rose from the mud. Factories, homes, a school, churches, parks, shops, a theater, library, and hotel, all carefully arranged as part of one of the first comprehensive urban planning efforts in America.
And they were the cutting edge at the time. They had ventilation, windows, in every room, ventilation, clean water, nice landscaping, and they were solid brick homes. And so they were, also all of them had gas at the time. And so it was really cutting edge for the time.
At the heart of Pullman stood the towering clock tower and administration building, symbols of both innovation and ambition. Their iron framing foreshadowed the structural systems that would later shape Chicago skyscrapers. Pullman's planners carefully positioned monumental buildings like Market Hall and the Arcade Building to create dramatic terminal vistas, allowing residents to see important civic landmarks at the end of major streets. The town blended Richardsonian Romanesque, Queen Anne, and neoclassical architecture into a unified design built almost entirely of brick made from clay dredged directly from Lake Calumet. The elegant Hotel Florence became one of the crown jewels of the community. Opened in 1881, the hotel welcomed guests from around the world with wide porches, richly detailed interiors, and views overlooking the landscape grounds and factory complex. Even the stables, church, workers' home, and row houses reflected Pullman's commitment to craftsmanship, beauty, and durability. Housing was designed to provide light, ventilation, green space, and dignity at a time when overcrowded industrial housing conditions were common in American cities. Pullman was also remarkably walkable. Residents could reach factories, the local school, parks, church, and stores within minutes. Today's planners call this idea a 15-minute city, but Pullman was successfully implementing many of those concepts more than a century ago.
It was designed to be self-contained. That added to the vitality of it. For example, I think it had the first indoor shopping center, and there was a church here in the community. And it seems that that lifestyle is now being replicated in other ways, in other communities.
By the mid-1880s, Pullman had become internationally famous as one of the most ambitious experiments in architecture and urban planning in the world. More than 140 years later, its streets, buildings, and public spaces continue to shape conversations about community design, preservation, and the future of American cities. Pullman stands as a reminder that America's story is also one of innovation, planning, craftsmanship, and the belief that communities could be built not only to function, but to inspire. America's story is a story of work. It is a story of innovation, opportunity, struggle, and the continuing effort to define fairness, dignity, and belonging in the workplace. At Pullman National Historical Park, that American story unfolds across generations. In the 1880s, industrialist George Pullman built an ambitious model town on Chicago's South Side to house workers at his luxury railcar factories. The town offered modern homes, parks, and services intended to improve the life during the industrial age. The workers who came to Pullman represented many backgrounds and many nations. Skilled craftsmen arrived from countries across Europe, bringing expertise in woodworking, carving, upholstery, painting, metalwork, blacksmithing, and fine finishing. These workers labored in specialized shops throughout the vast factory complex. Cabinet makers shaped elegant wood interiors. Upholsterers installed plush seating, curtains, and decorative fabrics. Painters and decorators applied intricate finishes and ornate stripping. Carpenters, machinists, blacksmiths, metalworkers, and laborers assembled the railcar piece by piece. Together, they built some of the most luxurious train cars of their day. Rolling hotels known for polished woodwork, rich fabrics, fine craftsmanship, and modern comforts that transformed rail travel in America and around the world. The work demanded skill, speed, and precision. Thousands of workers passed through Pullman's shops, helping power one of America's most innovative industries. But Pullman also exercised tight control over the community and the lives of its workers. At first, business boomed. Railroads were the high-tech industry of their day, and companies like Pullman expanded rapidly as America grew and Chicago prepared for the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition. Then, the economy collapsed. The Panic of 1893 triggered the worst economic depression in American history before the Great Depression. Railroad companies failed, orders declined, competition intensified. The Pullman Company cut wages, but rents in the company housing did not fall. Workers grew frustrated. On May 11, 1894, Pullman workers walked out.
We was terribly surprised about our fathers being on strike, and we said if our fathers are on strike, we're on strike too.
What began as a local strike became a national labor crisis when the American Railway Union, led by Eugene V. Debs, organized a nationwide boycott of railroad cars. At its peak, the strike affected hundreds of thousands of workers, disrupted rail traffic and federal mail delivery, and threatened the national economy. Federal courts declared the strike illegal. President Grover Cleveland sent federal troops to Chicago. By mid-July, the strike ended violently, but its impact reshaped national conversations about labor relations, workers' rights, corporate power, and the role of government. During the unrest, Congress approved Labor Day as a federal holiday, recognizing the growing importance of workers' issues in American life. Pullman's labor story did not end in 1894. In the decades that followed, Pullman porters, African-American men who staffed the company's sleeping cars, organized under the leadership of A. Philip Randolph and the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the nation's first major black labor union. The struggle for union recognition was not only a black labor story. In the 1920s, the Pullman Company hired Filipino attendants, in part to weaken the growing union movement. But many Filipino workers recognized they faced similar discrimination and forged alliances with black co-workers in the fight for dignity, fair treatment, and labor rights. In 1937, the Brotherhood won a landmark labor agreement with the Pullman Company, a milestone in labor history, black economic advancement, and the broader struggle for civil rights. The company itself continued to evolve. Pullman became Pullman Standard, and for generations the factory complex on Chicago's South Side continued building railroad equipment. The workforce reflected the changing face of America, including Mexican Americans and workers from many other backgrounds whose labor sustained the industry. For more than a century, workers at Pullman built railroad cars that carried passengers, commuters, and communities across the nation. The work continued into the 1980s, when the factory finally closed after more than 100 years of railcar production. Pullman reminds us that America's labor story is not simple. It is a story of industry and inequality, conflict,
the problem is that half of these people out here need their money,
and cooperation, economic crisis, and collective action. From immigrant craftsmen who built the luxurious rail cars, to Pullman workers who challenged economic hardship, to black porters and Filipino attendants who organized for dignity, opportunity, and fair treatment, to the diverse generations of workers, including Mexican Americans, who kept railcar production alive into the late 20th century. People from many backgrounds shaped Pullman's labor story, and in doing so, helped shape modern America. Their story continues to resonate today.
We can build the cars for the communities, the country, because it's what they need.
In the 1960s, Pullman stood at a crossroads. To some, it was old brick and fading industry. To others, it was home. Across America, historic neighborhoods were being cleared in the name of progress. In Pullman, demolition felt inevitable. But inside one church on the south side of Chicago, residents made a different choice. Here in the Greenstone Church, neighbors gathered. Not to mourn their town's past, but to fight for its future.
Pullman is a living social organism as well as a physical historic resource. It is people and ideas and values as well as buildings and spaces and public facilities.
Urban renewal plans threatened large sections of Pullman's historic worker housing. Developers saw opportunity. Residents saw erasure. Pullman was more than architecture. It was a rare, intact company town, a place where generations had lived, worked, and built community. Nearly 200 years after the American Revolution, Pullman residents found themselves in a struggle of their own, a fight for self-determination, not against a distant ruler, but against the demolition of their community. It was democracy at its most local, neighbors coming together to shape the future of the place they called home. In 1975, the crisis reached a symbol. The Hotel Florence, once the social heart of Pullman, faced sale and uncertainty. Residents rallied, they organized, and they refused to let it disappear. Out of that urgency came an institution, the historic Pullman Foundation, now Friends of Pullman National Historical Park.
Who saves a landmark? We all do.
Preservation became activism, and activism became organization. In a country founded on citizen action, Pullman's preservationists were writing their own chapter of civic responsibility. Saving landmarks was only the beginning. The Pullman Civic Organization turned preservation into education. Residents learned how to care for brickwork, how to restore wood windows, how to respect the architectural rhythm of their block. This was not about freezing time, it was about stewardship, house by house, block by block. Pullman survived because its people became caretakers of history. In 1998, disaster struck again.
A piece of Chicago history is burning behind me right now. Within a few hours, it would seem the old Pullman plant will be reduced to nothing but burned brick and rubble.
Fire engulfed the clock tower and administration building.
It was the last remaining structure of Chicago's Pullman Works, site of one of the most important battles in the U.S. labor movement.
For a moment, it seemed history might finally be lost. But Pullman had changed. Preservation was no longer a protest, it was a commitment.
Perhaps it can be rebuilt and the charred ruins restored.
People have dedicated a good part of their lives to restoring and preserving this rich fabric of our American history.
The building was restored, and today stands as the headquarters of the National Park Service site that tells Pullman's story to the nation. A near loss became a symbol of resilience. Not every structure was saved. Market Hall burnt and remains a shell, a reminder that preservation is fragile. But even loss strengthens resolve. Preservation in Pullman did not end in the 1970s or the 1990s. It continues today in the careful redevelopment of the Hotel Florence.
It is a $100 million plan to restore a historic luxury hotel and reopen it.
In ongoing restoration projects, in the new generations learning why this place matters.
That's the story of who we are, that's the story of our past. And I have no doubt that we will pass the torch from generation to generation so that it is the story of our future as well.
Pullman is not preserved because it is perfect. It is preserved because people chose it.